Hello world. I wanted to talk a little bit about banana circles today. Maybe hopefully demystify it a little bit, talk about what I do and why I do it, and then maybe empower some other people to give it a shot. I said to somebody on Facebook that I would be doing a few and I would make sure I covered why I do what I do and how I do it. And so here it is. I'm about to do that. So first of all, I don't do circles, and I'll explain a little bit about why a circle and why not a circle later. But here's what I do. So I have a garden space and I spend a lot of time out here. And whenever I'm picking a new place for a tree or a garden bed or a banana circle in this case, I take a stick, something like this, little fence post there, and I stick it in the ground and then I drive around it for a while and just leave it there for weeks. I mow around it. I just go about normal life, and if that stick ever gets in the way or I find myself running into it or inconvenienced by it, then I picked a bad spot. But in this case, it wasn't a bad spot, so I'm going to proceed. So my next step, when I do a banana circle, in this case it's a U, I start putting debris on the ground. So I put different things, branches, trunks of bananas, leaves, weeds, any number of sticks, logs, it doesn't matter. I put them all in the shape of where I want my mound to be for the bananas. And then I kind of outline where the pit will be. And so in a banana circle, it's, for those that don't know, it's characterized by having a usually round pit, and you dig out that pit and they use the content that's inside the pit, all the soil and whatever, to make a mound around the pit. So it ends up making the inside of the pit deeper, because you've dug out a hole here and then you take all that stuff and you put it up there. So even if you dig down a foot, into the ground there, you end up with a 2 foot high wall on the inside. And then you fill that pit with all kinds of organic material. Essentially, you're making a compost pile right next to the bananas. And there's a good reason to do that. One, the big circle acts like a bowl and it catches all the rainwater, and they like water. They don't like to be soaked, so I put them up on the, you plant them up on the hill. You don't plant them in the middle of the hole. But it collects water, so you have a nice moist ground for them to continually get that water that they need, because bananas are predominantly water. And also because you're putting all that compost in the center, they're heavy feeders, so they got their food source right in the middle. So that compost pile is generating heat, it's catching the water, it's mixing, and it's making like a slurry of nutrition to help those bananas grow faster. And it's efficient on space. You can grow more bananas in a circle around that center core, and you're feeding one place and you get multiple bananas around the outside, typically at different ages. So you want to have like the mother, the daughter, the granddaughter, but you don't want too many bananas because it's hard to keep them all fed, and they won't go to flower and fruit as quickly, and that's kind of the goal here, right? So in my case, I usually drop the bananas where I think they're going to go. Now these two are here just for an example, because these are not the bananas that are going to end up in this pit when I'm ready to dig it. But I'll probably leave this for another week or two and just keep piling stuff up as I go clean up around the yard, because there's no reason to kill myself doing it all at once. And then I will dig the center. And as I dig down, and the reason it's a U and I'm digging from here is I'm uphill from it. And so the water will run down on its way to what's normally a pond. So that little perimeter right there is where there's normally water. And then it goes all the way out there and it's dry, because we've been in a pretty bad drought. Even with the like 2 inches of rain we've had this week, it's pretty much all we've had for months. And so there's a little mud puddle down there, but that's all I got. But eventually lots of water will flow through here, because it's going to fill that, and it'll fill it over a few days. And so the water comes down this hill and it's going to go down into that hole and kind of fill it up. And then when it has too much water, it'll go out the sides and it'll keep going on its way down the path. But it'll keep that banana pit or circle, whatever you want to call it, well moistened. And so the circle thing is what gets people hung up, and that it has to be round and why you have to have a circle and all those things. It doesn't have to be a circle. It has to be whatever works for you. It could be a straight line. In my case, it's a U, and it's my preference. And the other thing is, with a U, it's easier for me to dump right there. So I have a tractor, I have horses, I have cows, I have goats. If I'm digging out a stall, for example, and I've got a bucket full of manure, I can come and just go boop and drop one whole mound right there and just leave it, and then it breaks down and feeds my bananas. And I can do that, once or twice a year maybe at the most, and my bananas are fed and I don't have to deal with them anymore, right? So this is one that's coming in the future. I wanted to give you the before scene, and here's one that I just finished earlier today. So we'll stroll over that way to this other one. So same concept, a little bit different. In this case, also there's a slope, so I'll go upslope from it. The water runs down this slope, and again, I have a U shape that goes out and around like this, and then I dug that pit that goes right in there. And so just like on the other one, I set these particular bananas right on the surface, and then I dug from the pit and I filled in that mound all the way around. And then in the center, I dumped all this basically horse stall shavings and manure, and a lot of this has been sitting out for a while, so it's started to break down. It's not quite as broken down as I would like, but I will bring more and I will dump it right there. And when I start this thing, like later today, I'll dump a mound. It'll be heaping, so it'll be taller than the stuff on the backside because it'll break down very quickly and fall away. So in this particular banana, is called, when it was given to me, or when I got it originally, it was called ice cream. And now there's a new plant that people are calling ice cream. It's a blue Java ice cream something, so that I don't think this is that. So I'm not sure, maybe this was incorrectly labeled ice cream, but it doesn't matter. It's a banana and it produces nice bananas, so it's here. And it's a full size, so I wanted to give it plenty of room. In this case, my half circle is much wider than the one over on the other side. The reason is the slope's a little bit more gradual on this side, so the flow of water will be slower, and it's coming from a much broader area. So I wanted to have as wide a scoop as I could to catch as much of that water as I could on the way down the hill, because it's a much slower flow. If it's much steeper, I might make it even like a V to catch the water, and then I'll make the hole even deeper. So you can vary it based on the setting and what makes sense. So if it was super flat land, or I was doing it on a different spot that just happens to be flat, it would indeed be a circle, because I want to catch the water coming straight down. It's not going to be flowing past it. So instead I'll make it a bowl to catch that water and hold it for a little bit longer before it goes down, and then I can still fill that center with lots of material. So the center is your compost pile, so you don't have to have a worm bin and all the other things. You can bring your kitchen scraps, you can bring branches, weeds, it really doesn't matter. Cardboard, paper products, eggshells. Just think about anything that you would be able to throw in a compost bin, I can bury right in this mound. And because I have multiples, what I can do is I can just dig a hole, I can dump, a scoop of my stuff in there, cover it up, and then leave it. And then I go the next time I do it at a different mound or in a different spot. So I might do one over here 1 week, and then the following week I come over and I put it over here, and then the next week I put it in the middle, and by the time I get back over to this side, all that's been broken down and the worms and all the life will go in there. The other thing that people get obsessed about is what to plant in their banana circles in addition to bananas. In this case, there's nothing here right now, but I'll probably plant something else in here, but you don't have to. I could just as easily leave this the way it is and it'd be just bananas, and it would be perfectly happy, but it'll get weedy. And so I'll get some different, God will provide, and they'll bring all kinds of native plants, whether I want them or not. So I will probably plant something like pumpkins, or specifically Seminole pumpkins, because I like to plant the actual plant up out of the ground so it doesn't get over waterlogged, and then I'll let it run out. It'll run down the hill over the grass, or it'll run this way up the grass, and then I just mow around it. Eventually when I harvest, I just mow it in, and so it works for me because I'm not that worried about having the perfect lawn out here, and it keeps my pumpkins from rotting, that sort of thing. So it's a good option. I might plant some black beans around the bottom just to get some nitrogen in this pile and get it going. I might plant sweet potatoes. If I do sweet potatoes, I'm not going to plant them in this front part. So this front area is going to stay wet, and it's going to be constantly adding more and more and more. And so I don't want to plant right into the bowl. Right now you can't tell that it's a bowl, but it's probably 2 feet deep right along this lip. So just inside of these bananas, it falls off to about 2 feet below grade, and then there's another foot up of material that I added, and then that grades slowly up to this front edge. So it's like a zero entry pool, so it just kind of slides straight down. And so by doing that, I catch the water, and it's much deeper on the other side. So people want to put cassava, they want to put taro or malanga or those kinds. They all do fine. But when you're doing something like a cassava, where it's a root crop that you're going to eat, or sweet potato, that sort of thing, if you plant them in here, they're going to get too wet and they're going to rot. So you can plant them on the other side. And so cassava in this particular bed, I don't know that it's a great idea, because the one I have is just way aggressive. And it'll overtake my bananas actually, and so I probably won't do cassava in here. But if I were a bigger fan of taro and I wanted to plant it, I would probably plant it, in here, like right along the edges near the water, because it likes more water. But I won't plant it right in that center. So, is there a right way? Is there a wrong way? I don't think so. I think the only wrong way to do a banana is not to plant it at all. And so hopefully you're inspired to plant. Hit me up if you've got questions about other ways to do it. You can do it flat. You could do a straight line instead of a circle if you had flat land, and you could dig a trail like a footpath, and the mulched footpath is where you do your compost, and you use that soil to build up a little bit of a mound for the bananas. There's an infinite number of ways that you can do a banana. Again, the only wrong way is to not do it at all. So hopefully you'll get out there and plant some bananas and grow your own. Thanks for listening. Have a good one.